everyone? Welcome back to another Hard Count podcast. Today, I'm going to be going over my best bets, my fabulous 5 against the spread for Week 14 of the NFL season. So let's get right into it. So my first best bet against the spread, Baltimore at Buffalo. Baltimore, I'm taking them to win by more than 6 here. They're favored by 6, and I really like this bet. Both teams, they're coming off big wins. The Bills against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. They played a great game there, and I really liked what I saw from Sean McDermott coaching this team. And I think that really silenced a lot of their big doubters. I think they're still being doubted a little bit out there. But it was just a great showing for them. We did see this past Thursday, Cowboys really struggled against the Bears as well. So then we're kind of thinking, I don't know, was it that special of a performance by the Bills or the Cowboys just bad? But I think it was a little bit of both. So then the Ravens coming off a big win against the 49ers on Sunday. I know that a lot of people think that this line might be a little bit extreme for the Ravens to be favored by 6 here, especially in Buffalo. But I really just think like the Ravens, they've just been so dominant recently. I do see them losing one more game this season, maybe, but I expect that to be one of the division games later in the season. Those could be more trap games. I really don't think this is a trap game. I think Harbaugh and that whole offense and team is really looking forward to this game because it's a big game against an AFC team that is also competing. So I know people not been doubting the Ravens, but ever since the 49ers kind of hung with them a little bit, people have been kind of undervaluing how good this Ravens team is. And I think it's just because the 49ers team is just such a good team. I think both teams are really great teams. But I think, yes, Buffalo is very good. But Sean McDermott here, the Bills and their wins, aside from Bill Belichick where they lost, this might be one of the only other times I think Sean McDermott is really going to be outcoached this season because John Harbaugh, Wink Martindale, Greg Roman, they've just been doing amazing things with this Ravens team. The X factor obviously is Lamar Jackson. What is he going to do? How is he going to run this offense? If the Bills are able to stop him run, will he be able to throw? We saw a little bit of, at the end of the game, especially with the 49ers, where they were able to hold Lamar Jackson somewhat, but he was still able to pick up 106 yards on the ground, I'm pretty sure it was. So that'll be something to watch out for. I'm really excited to watch this game. I'm not expecting a huge blowout by the Ravens, but I think they're handily going to take down the Bills. They're going to want to prove people that they are still a very dominant team. And yeah, I do think Buffalo is going to come out here, but I think with a lot of energy as well, but I think it will be shut down by the Ravens relatively quickly. But yeah, I'm really excited to watch this game. So again, I predict that Ravens will cover the 6 points. They're going to win by more than 6 in Buffalo. And because they just want to hang on to that 1 seed, they have it right now over New England. And yeah, perfect transition. My next best bet is Kansas City. They're going to cover their 3 points. They're 3-point underdogs in New England. I actually have them winning this game. And this is one of my favorite bets of the week. I know New England is coming off a loss. And Bill Belichick, he doesn't want, because people are starting to doubt the Patriots team. Bill Belichick, he doesn't want, to have people doubting this team. Or, maybe he does. But, you say to yourself, well, they're going to be great. They just were embarrassed by the Texans. But they, earlier this season, they were embarrassed by the Ravens on primetime. And they had a bye. Now, they did beat the Eagles when they came back, but it was a struggling Eagles team. And they won by 7. And they only put up 17 points. So I was expecting more from the Patriots out of that game. I think that this is an indicator of what we're going to see from New England this week. Again, however, this Chiefs team is a much better team than that Eagles team. I think this Chiefs team has a lot of energy coming into this game. They had a huge win last week off of a bye. They won 40-9 against the Raiders, so Big win for them there. All of us know Andy Reid is great off the bye. I know New England does have a 22-game win streak or something like that at home, but I believe it goes down here. And I always say that if New England wants to win games, they need to hold their opponents to less than 23 points or 23 or less points. And right now, the way that Kansas City offense has been looking, it's going to be really hard to hold that team to under 23 points. Now, New England, they like to, especially against better teams, they like to, or not like to, but they just seemingly have been winning games against better opponents by close margins that are low scoring. So right here, I just do not see New England winning by more than 3. And if New England wins this game, I think it's going to be a game where they win, 24-23 or 21-20 or something like that. So I just don't see New England coming out here and winning 27-20 because Kansas City's offense is so dynamic. And don't get me wrong, this New England defense is great. It's probably top 2 in the league for sure. But and then, we might be having a little bit of concern here for that Chiefs offense because, a couple weeks ago in Mexico City, they played the Chargers, and they really struggled in that game with the Chargers having so many, really trying to limit those deep plays, which Kansas City really thrives off of because they've been really reliant on Patrick Mahomes. But they came out the next week and proved us all a little bit wrong, and I think no matter what, Patrick Mahomes is super talented, and they're going to put points on the board. And I don't think New England's going to necessarily be able to just outscore them like that. So, again, Kansas City is going to cover the 3 points. They are going, in my opinion, they're going to win. They're going to cover and win 26-23 here for me. And, yeah, so that's one of my favorite bets of the week, okay? So we just went over 2 games with very good AFC teams. Now we're going to move on to a game with 2 very bad AFC teams. Miami at the New York Jets. The Jets are favored by 5, but I'm taking Miami to cover that spread. Miami +5 at New York Jets is one of my best bets. Miami coming off a big win against the Eagles. They put up 37 in that game, I believe. But the Jets, they're coming off a loss to the Bengals, and I think it's just another example of this almost bipolar Jets team. They're one of the most inconsistent teams in the league at this point, and they're just great sometimes. Sometimes they're not. And I see a game where both teams are able to put points on the board a little bit, but nothing too crazy. Miami did show that they were able to put up points. Again, they scored 37 or something like that on the Eagles. Jamal Adams is going to be out for this game, and I expect another good game from Devontae Parker. He had a big game last week, and yeah, that'll be super exciting to see. Obviously this game is just going to be a struggle game. Doesn't really have too many implications as we head forward. But 5 points for the Dolphins, give me that all day because I see this game as a coin flip as to who's going to win. And I just do not see either team by winning by more than 3 or 4. So give me those 5 points for Miami all day. I really have just liked what I've seen from Brian Flores and his team. They play hard. I think they have a good future. And I think they're going to carry it over. They do have some momentum coming off that big win against the Eagles. And yeah, it's not like that Eagles defense is terrible either. Now, they didn't play a good game, but look, 2 weeks ago, they did a very good job against Russell Wilson, and the offense is what had lost them that game. So yeah, I just expect it to be a very competitive game. It'll be a close one. I don't know who's going to come out on top, but I actually do have Miami going to win this game 28-27 and go into the Jets, and I guess you could say it's an upset. But the way that Miami has been playing recently, I don't know. Is it an upset? So let's go on to my 4th best bet of the video, and that is Denver +9 at Houston. Denver, so that means that Denver is projected to lose by 9 or more, and I just do not see that happening. I think it'll be a closer game. Denver, they're coming off a win that was kind of somewhat based on a blown call. Like Drew Lock, it was his first game for Denver, and he looked competent, especially in the first half. He did struggle a little bit in the second half, but so then Houston, coming off a huge win in primetime against the Patriots, really just inserting themselves as one of the better teams in the league, and it was a big emotional win for them. Not that they will not be focusing on this game, but it's definitely an easy one to overlook for a team with playoff aspirations, and they're reflecting on the big win they had last weekend in primetime. I think this could easily be a trap game for the Texans. I don't think it's going to be a trap game for them to lose, but rather just for a closer game than they may have expected. Might be shocking a little bit for them. I said earlier that Drew Lock, he looked competent against the Chargers secondary. He did play poorly in the second half, but I mean, how much better is this Texans defense than the Chargers defense? If it even is better. So I think it's worse. So we'll see. I think he's going to be able to move the ball, not tremendously well, but he's going to be able to do it and put up points on the board. Denver, out of their 13 games, they've only lost only 3 games by 9 points, and 2 of those games were with Joe Flacco playing terrible games. The Chiefs, I really love this Broncos defense. The Chiefs are the only team that has put up 30 points on that defense, and that was with a healthy team, healthy Patrick Mahomes and all. So super stout defense there. I love what Vic Fangio is doing with that defense. But by that logic, if the Broncos are holding every team to under 30, Houston really needs to hold the Broncos to a low-scoring game in order to cover. But I just don't see Houston's defense coming out here and shutting down defensively, because that's not what they've been doing all year. I do think it sometimes is an underrated group at times, but it's not great by any means. And Denver, especially with Drew Lock, they're going to really at quarterback, they're really going to try and get the ball moving on the ground, which the Texans, they're normally pretty good with, but we've seen it be exploited, especially in that Baltimore game a couple weeks ago. Denver, all year, they've just eaten up the clock. They've won and lost by slim margins. And I still have the Texans to win. I think the Texans are a better team, and they're going to come out on top. They're going to be able to outscore this Denver team. But Denver, their defense has just been solid all year. I'm interested to see what they do over the offseason. Are they going to put more pieces on offense? Is Drew Lock their guy? But I think it's just definitely a proving game for Drew Lock, another one. And but I still have the Texans to win, but I think Denver will keep it close, 23-19, coming to Houston, and maybe, shock a couple people. Not by winning, but just keeping it close. So, my final best bet of the video is Vikings minus 12.5 at home against Detroit. And I know that is a big line, minus 12.5, and that is scary to bet on big lines, but I just love the Vikings in this one. I see no way that they lose this game. It's home for the Vikings at 1 o'clock against bad defenses. At 1 o'clock at home is where we see just Kirk Cousins play MVP level, especially earlier in the season. Now, he has improved his play on primetime. In Seattle, he did not look poor whatsoever. They put up good numbers on the Seattle defense, but, it just wasn't great for them. But at home, against below-average defenses, the Vikings have won by an average of 15 points this season, which is really crazy if you think about it. And I think the Lions' defense definitely qualifies right now as a below-average defense, as they just have been terrible recently. Bottom 5 in the league, in my opinion, for sure. They have not been able to get to the quarterback whatsoever. Darius Slay, who was supposed to be their star, has just really been struggling. And it's just been terrible for them, and Kirk Cousins really feasts off that. If he has time to throw and everything's great for him, he will definitely perform well. I expect a big game for everyone on that Vikings team. We'll see if he has, if that Vikings team has Dalvin Cook. I think they will, but if not, Alexander Mattison is a great backup for them because I think they'll be able to run the ball in this team regardless. And keep that Lions offense off the field and be scoring a lot of points in the process of doing that. I think, Jeff Blow, he did have a decent game. I think he's going to have a decent game in this one. The Vikings secondary has been struggling a little bit recently and has been pretty underwhelming as a whole. Xavier Rhodes especially just has been really not performing up to expectations. But Blau, I think, because the Vikings have a really good run defense, I expect that the Lions are just going to be trying to rely on David Blau to make all those big plays because they're going to struggle to move the ball on the ground, and it's just not going to be a recipe for success against this Vikings team. And especially with young David Blau, I just don't think he's going to be able to do much without a run game here. So I know I'm going for a big line here on Minnesota, but I really do like it. I love it. It's 12.5, so that means that 13-point win with 2 field goals and a touchdown, or a touchdown, miss extra point and a touchdown. That is huge, and you'd still get that bet. So yeah, that was my final bet of the video. Just to recap, my best bets: Baltimore -6 in Buffalo. Baltimore is going to win by more than 6. I have Kansas City I have Buffalo and Baltimore. And then Kansas City is going to win by is going to win this game 26-23. They're going to cover that 3. And then Miami +5 in the Jets. I have them winning this game 28-27 Miami. So a close game there. Miami's going to cover the 5. My 4th best bet was Denver +9 at Houston. Denver is going to come into Houston and shock some people by keeping it closer than many may have expected. They're going to well cover that by 23-19. Houston's still going to come out on top and go to 9-4. And then my final best bet of the video was Detroit at Minnesota. Minnesota's going to win 30-14 in this one. Okay, so those are my best bets. Thank you guys so much for listening. And yeah, until next time.